All right, module 1, lesson 2, the roadmap. You guys see that period right there? This is very, very serious in making sure that you can establish your goals and reach them within this course. So imagine you're right here, and this could be anywhere. This could be already making 100 grand in the music industry, or this could be just starting out. You haven't even really made any money playing the saxophone before. You haven't got paid for a single gig, and you want to get here. And let's say here is, I don't know, 8 gigs a month, hitting 5-digit months every single month, playing the saxophone, having a consistent stream of income from multiple modes of employment. But how do we get there? And the way that we get there is by charting our roadmap. This is another deliverable. This is another worksheet that I've provided for you guys. Check it out below. Do the exact same thing you did for the first lesson, right? So file, make a copy, rename it, and then you'll share it to me the same exact way once you're done. But let's just get right into it because there's a lot of information, and this is going to have some big aha moments for you guys. It did for me when I started charting my own course like this, when I started charting my own income and my own aspirations in the music industry. I went through this exact same process. Put your name on the top, just like back in elementary school. All right, let's hit it. SWOT analysis. If you've ever been in any basic business class in your life, I'm talking, back in high school, early college, or read stuff online. This is one of the first things that new businesses will tell you that you have to do on either your typical client base or just your idea in general. And that is the SWOT analysis. Let's get into it. Number 1, strengths. Do not be humble here. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with me. What are some elements of you as a saxophone player that you find strong? Maybe you're a killing soloist. Improvisation skills through the roof. Maybe you have a unique tone. Maybe you already have great stage presence. These are some things, these are some examples of super attainable strengths that you probably already have or you might already have. This list could be as long or as short as you want. I really would prefer if you put as many examples as possible per SWOT analysis so that when I check it out, I'll have a really great idea of where you're at. Weaknesses. That's why you're here, right? You want to strengthen your weaknesses. You want to take your weaknesses and turn them into strengths. You don't really know how to market yourself as a musician. Maybe you don't know many songs in different genres. These are just 2 examples, but there's so many different weaknesses that you could have that doesn't discredit you as a saxophone player in your strengths, but maybe it's the reason that you're held back from achieving your goals. So list all the weaknesses you can. Opportunities. This is talking about the location. This is talking about different elements of the music industry that you've noticed, but I would really try and limit it to where you're located's opportunities. Emerging jazz scene. So you live in, you live in a city like Austin, Texas, that has a super up-and-coming country music and blues music scene. Maybe that's emerging in your city, and that's something, okay, you see that as an opportunity maybe to corner that market as a new sax player in town. Maybe one of the music schools, one of the music academies closed near you. Over here, here in Miami, Florida, we actually had all the guitar centers close, the Sam Ash stores close. And that actually made a huge impact on the demand for private lessons in the area, right? Tons of musicians, tons of students were trying to learn how to play the saxophone or learn how to play other instruments in the area. And then that place closed, and there had to be teachers that picked up the demand for private lessons. So those are opportunities in your area. We're going to actually delve a lot deeper into analyzing your local community within there's 3 lessons already that touch on that. So if you don't have a ton of examples for this, try your best to fill it up as best as you can, but we will come back to this page several times throughout the course. Threats. This is one, I don't like dwelling on it too much, but this is the reality of the scene. Threats, the economy, the recession, we're on the brink, right? Gigs being, taken away. Obviously, we remember during COVID, super dark time. A ton of gigs were completely gone. That would be a threat, right, to our income, to our success in the industry. Maybe high competition in the genre. You want to be the next Chris Potter. You want to absolutely kill it on your horn. That's your dream. But you live in New York City where about 10,000 sax players come into town every day, right? It's high competition in genre could be a threat. Now, that doesn't mean that it will hold you back, but these are threats. These are things that might get in the way. Part 2, this is an important one. This will change so much. Actually, all of these will change throughout your time going through your journey. You have to imagine your roadmap as Google Maps versus Waze. So picture this. You're heading to the office early in the morning hour, rush hour, and you put your job into Google Maps, and it tells you got to go the same way, the straight way that you go every single day. But when you're about halfway to work, you notice the traffic starts to build up, right? Then you take out Waze, and you see that there's an accident ahead, but it charts you to get off at the exit from the expressway and go down some back roads, change the route, and eventually get back on the road. That is what this roadmap is. So right now, you're going to fill this whole thing out, and you're going to be super confident. Yeah, I'm a really good soloist. Yeah, I really need to learn more about negotiating for gigs. There's a ton of demand for private lessons in my area. I'm going to make money that way. But sadly, the economy is getting in the way of me achieving my dreams. But then come back 3 months later, now the demand for private lessons isn't as big anymore. A new music store opened in town, but the economy is doing a lot better, and that's also not a threat anymore. So now you got to reassess. So you see what I mean? This roadmap is like Google Maps right now, but it might turn into Waze. There might be some traffic. There might be some changes in your route. Maybe there's a way faster route. Maybe the traffic isn't bad, but you realize, oh, wait a minute. There's an opportunity I wasn't thinking about before in my area. And that's something that you hear all the time. I hear it all the time from other saxophone players once they get to the location analysis lesson coming up. But I digress. Current needs, current wants, gig and goals. Needs versus wants. My goal during this course is to get as many as many of your needs fulfilled so that you can focus on your wants. That's the main goal. And that's actually why I love having this in the roadmap, because I hope that throughout the course, when you come back here and change some things, that you'll notice that maybe your needs and your wants change a lot, and you notice that, things move around a lot, which is super exciting. Your current needs. The reality of the situation is you need to make money. You need consistent work, right? That's how you live. Sadly, in the way that this society is built, that we've built here, you need money to live. So that would be a need. Maybe some of you guys have that already, and maybe you want connections. You want more gigs. You want more venues. The type of income and consistent work you have now is something you're not happy with, and that's something that you want to change. So something that you need maybe is a more creative goal. Needs versus wants. But wants, gig and goals. I don't want it to be as pie in the sky as your last document where we did the 10-year plan or 10-year dream. This is more attainable stuff. Okay, you want to be in a music festival. Super attainable. You start a band. Eventually, you guys get the social media down and everything. You're an opening act in a local music festival. You want more weddings, corporate events. You want that sweet, sweet corporate money in your bank account. That's a gig and goal that's attainable. Club residencies. There's a new restaurant that opened in town. You want it to be the saxophone show, insert name here, and you want that, once a month, twice a month, once a week. These are all attainable gig and goals, no matter which community you're in, no matter where in the country you're in. These are examples of some attainable gig and goals. This is what I want for this, the wants versus the needs. Skill development plan. Okay, here's a big one too. Technical development versus repertoire development versus business development. So going back to the top, we worked on our strengths and weaknesses, right? Some of us, and I think that this is what's going to be a trend because the artists I've worked with so far, this has kind of been what they've been telling me. Their strengths are on the saxophone, big on the saxophone strengths. All their strengths here are blah, 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 all the way down that, they know all their 2-5-1s and drop 2 voicings on the piano, and they're able to improvise over it. They're able to play all different genres of music. Their altissimos killing. Those are all their strengths. And then all their weaknesses you're seeing is in the business world. They don't know how to run a targeted ad on social media, or they don't know how to market before an album release. You see the trend? Coming down to skill development plan, this is where we hone in on the specific differences between our strengths and weaknesses. So earlier before, okay, you're killing it on technique. You're killing it in all these different ways. So then maybe there'll be less technical developments in your skill development plan. Maybe, your technical developments are focus on ear training, more relevant ear training, which is a whole module that I have for you guys set up. Relevant ear training, that when you're on a gig and you're working with a horn player, maybe our ear training isn't good enough so that when we hear someone play a line one time, you could pick it up by the second time. Or even in the back of your head, you are ready to harmonize in minor thirds over that pentatonic line immediately after you hear it, instead of hearing it go around a couple times and hitting it in the next chorus during a corporate gig. Maybe that's a technical development for you. That's a super nuanced thing. Maybe it's just straight up stamina. I mean, we're woodwind players. We're not trumpet players. We're not brass players that our chops get beat up. But I will admit that my first time playing 7 gigs in 1 week, on that Sunday after the whole week, my lips did have a thing going on. My lips did hurt. I lacked that stamina a little bit. Maybe that's the technical development that you want to work on in your skill development plan. Or maybe you're more intermediate on your journey, and maybe you do need some help with improvisation. You do need some help in, the more intermediate or professional, more advanced skills. Technical developments. Repertoire developments. Once again, I have a whole module on this, so don't be intimidated by this second bullet here, because we will really, really be delving into this. I believe that this separates a lot of the most successful players in the industry with people that are just kind of figuring it out. So I base my repertoire developments off types of gigs, and not the next lesson, but the lesson after that in this module is all about my 4 classifications for gigs. But for now, before we know how to speak my language in my classifications, let's just do it by genre. Repertoire developments. What are your goals? Let's say you have 120 tunes, 120 jazz heads and progressions that you have down so quick that you don't need help on that anymore. But if someone calls Valerie by Amy Winehouse on the gig, you are lost. That means that you want some more pop songs in your repertoire. Maybe going back to the SWOT analysis, and I'm going to be jumping around a lot. Opportunities in town. You're in Austin, Texas, baby, and their blues and country scenes killing it, and people are asking you to play different songs, and you have no idea, how the song goes, what the chord progression is. If there are even horns in it originally, you don't know. That is what the repertoire developments, that's what I'm going for here. Your goal should be to take this list and over time start crossing out genres, because a lot of us killing on jazz, maybe even killing on pop, but there's a more nuanced genre that, is a hole in our repertoire list. This is something that playing on a lot of corporate gigs has helped me out big time, because these clients, they request whatever's popular locally in the scene, and that'll introduce a lot of different music into our repertoire. But once again, next module, the entire module will be all about developing our repertoire. And last but not least, like I said, the one that is a pit for many of our saxophone friends is the business development side. You have slight experience booking gigs, but then when the venue asks you how much you charge, you're scared to charge what you actually deserve because you're afraid of losing the gig. Or maybe you don't even know the industry rates. Maybe you don't even know in your town how much a band is typically making, and you're undercutting yourself by hundreds of dollars. That happens all the time. Negotiation. Maybe you really want to get into that corporate event scene and you don't even know how to get into it. You don't know how to negotiate if you want to be on the booking side. If you're looking to start with an agency, you don't even know how to get in touch with these people. You don't know how to run an audition. Business development. Club residency. Maybe your dream is to have that weekly, beautiful gig every week at a restaurant, and you don't even know where to start. A lot of the restaurants here in Miami are corporate run. So there's a lot of pitfalls with that, a lot of red tape that you have to figure out how to work around. There are countless business developments that even I myself need. It's a growing element of us as musicians. We didn't train to be businessmen. We trained to be musicians, but we are businessmen musicians. That's how it goes. There's no way around it. We are selling ourselves as a product every time we get up on that stage. Every time we blow into our piece of metal, we are trying to sell ourselves as a business. So let's get these developments, our goals in the skill development plan. Let's be super, super honest with ourselves, with what we have and what we need. This one is my favorite part of the roadmap, and it's the one that I hope that we come back to make checks every time we get back onto this document, and that is the milestones. I should be inserting the milestones recording right now. But anyway, I digress again. I set it in 5 milestones. I'm testing it out. If you see up top at the template, this is my version 1.0 of this document, and I do intend on changing it as time goes on. After hearing more feedback from how you guys are doing with it, what you believe maybe you need to add to it. That's something that, one of my goals in this course is to ever change a lot of these documents based off what's working and what, we need a little bit more targeted help on. Milestones. Everyone's career goals are completely different. So it would be silly for me to standardize the milestones for everybody because everybody is completely different. However, I did put my recommendations for 5 milestones. If your goal is just to make livable income playing the saxophone, and your goal professionally is to be able to provide for a family and make enough money from playing the saxophone that you're able to quit your day job and do it full time, then these 5 milestones are more than enough to achieve that goal. But maybe your milestones is to build a private lesson studio because that opportunity popped up in town. There's a bunch of different goals that we all have, when we pick up that piece of metal every day, we want to make money. So I don't want to force anything on you. However, if you do want to use my 5, this section, the way you fill it out is you just put what milestone you want. What I love about the milestones also is there's no specific date on it. The order is very important to me, but also, who knows, maybe you'll get hired by a corporate agency before you even book your first independent individual gig. Who knows, right? The order of our industry, the reason that I love our industry and the reason why I'm addicted to our industry is because it's like scratch off tickets. You never know what you're going to get. Every time you play one of these gigs, something might happen that achieves your 5 gigs a month. Maybe immediately you'll land a reoccurring gig after you play your first gig or after you go to an open mic. Who knows, right? So it'd be silly to expect it to go in an order, but the order is important for your goals, and your milestones are super important in reaching your dreams. So let's talk about it. Here are my basic 5 general run-of-the-mill milestones that if you're going in with, low expectation on your end goal, if your end goal is just to achieve maybe a 5-digit month, then here it is. Here are the milestones. At any point, any of these can hit. Independently book first individual gig. I explained in 2 lessons what the individual gig, what I mean by that. But essentially, to sum it up, sax and track or solo gig. On your own, you find a venue, you see that they need some music, or maybe they already have music. You talk to them, you negotiate the gig. You don't use a middleman. You do it all by yourself, and bam, you book your first individual gig. That's milestone 1. Once that happens, check mark, baby. You're on your way. Milestone 2, land a reoccurring gig. Let's say that gig is the best gig of your life. The crowd is loving it. They're enjoying it. They're eating their dinner. They're clapping after every song. They're making requests even. They're loving it. The owner comes to you and says, you know what, Mr. Saxophone player, let's make this happen. Let's make this a once-a-month thing. You got jazz night, even though it's very rarely ever jazz down here in Miami when they say jazz night, but that's, I digress. You got jazz night. It's just solo saxophone gig. And it's going to be every month. There you go. You achieve milestone 2. Milestone 3. Now you've been doing this for a couple months. Maybe you land some more independent gigs. Maybe you book some gigs for you and a couple friends. Maybe you have more reoccurring gigs. Things are going well for you. You decide you want to get hooked up with a corporate agency. You go to social media or you go to wherever their website is, you reach out to them, you send them an email, or you meet someone on a gig that offers you an opportunity to audition for one of these agencies. You land the gig, you land the agency, you have the repertoire, you're all set. You get hired by a corporate agency. Bam, you fill out that W-4 or you start filling out those 1099s and you're set. So now milestone 1, book the gig. Milestone 2, landed the reoccurring gig. Number 3, now you're hired by a corporate agency. Bam. You're on to number 4. Let's say you work for the agency for a couple weeks, a couple gigs, right? Because a lot of times in the corporate industry, these gigs are booked so far in advance that when you get hired, maybe a couple months later, you'll have your first one, right? Or maybe it's a pop-up gig. Maybe it's a last-minute one for a corporate award party. Who knows, right? Anything can happen in this industry. You get hired. They love you. You have a reoccurring gig once a month. You book a couple other gigs now and then. Maybe the agency gives you 2 gigs at first a month. You hit that 5 gigs a month. I think that that's the benchmark. Once you hit 5 gigs a month, then it's just going to be exponential growth after that. Because when you're on these gigs, there's networking that's happening. When you're playing for the corporate agency, they're getting more weddings and they're getting more corporate events because of their reputation growing, because their word of mouth marketing. Then they're hiring you more to do more gigs. Before long, this is going to go from 5 gigs a month to 10 gigs a month. But until you reach that 5 gigs, I think that that's the biggest push. You're pushing, you hit 5 gigs a month, then it grows from there. You achieve that. Milestone 4. Bam. So now you got 4 milestones hit. And the last one. This is a big one, but it's not unattainable, and it's something that you're going to reach before you even realize it. It's going to be a shock. You're going to be doing your calculations of all your income. You're going to be reading all of your bank statements, and then you're going to realize, wow, there it is. I hit my first $10,000 or more month, and that is milestone 5. Now, what happens when you hit milestone 5? That's an amazing problem to have, and I can't wait for more of you guys to achieve milestone 5. Once that happens, then we go back and we reset the drawing board. Then maybe our next one will be first $20,000 month. Who knows? Maybe that'll be milestone 5 the second time around. But 5 milestones is I think it's a pretty happy number to start with in achieving our dreams. This should be either my recommended list, or as a reminder, it can be a list of your choosing. If it is a list of your choosing, do not start checking them off until I approve the list of the 5 milestones. Because I'd hate if your 5 milestones were like, insert milestone 1 is sit in at your first open mic. Okay, that's actually not a horrible one. Sit in at your first open mic, and then your second one is sit in at your second open mic, and then your third one is sit in at your third open mic, and then you're like, look, Colin, I got all 5 milestones, and I check it out, and it's super attainable. It's too attainable. These milestones should be things that you're reaching for, and that's also, on the other hand, right? Maybe you're coming to me and you already have a couple gigs a month. Maybe you already have booked a ton of individual gigs. You already have a couple reoccurring gigs, and you're coming to me to hone in to really increase the amount of work that you're getting. And that's totally understandable as well. So in that case, maybe those milestones are negotiate a raise for my corporate agency for the first time. And then your second gig is land it could be land not only a reoccurring gig, but book a reoccurring gig for a venue. That's something that is a really great way to make money in the industry when you book other artists at a restaurant or event venue. Anyway, you see what I mean. So as a review, SWOT analysis, needs versus wants, skilled development plan, so technical versus repertoire versus business. These are all your attainable goals, what you want to work on in each. And then your 5 milestones. Once you have that, submit it to me the same way that you did the other document, and let's get editing this. Like I said, it's just going to be like Waze, We're going to be changing this all the time, achieving different goals every time we change our roadmap. And that's about it. That was the roadmap. Let me know if you have any questions. Do not be afraid to reach out and talk to me. If not, submit it to me, and I'm super excited to hear all of your goals. Let's make it happen.